Let us dive into the Red Sea. I have no idea what they're about to get into, but after the IKEA video, how much eerie can it get?
SCP-093, Red Sea Object.
Mm-mm.
In a universe of eldritch destroyers, inexplicable phenomena, and marvelous creations, it might be surprising that one of the most interesting and evocative of the SCPs is a small stone disc that changes colors.
Okay.
SCP-093 is one of the earliest SCPs to be written up, and yet it continues to fascinate newcomers years later. Many SCPs are interesting because of their descriptions, their forms and functionalities, while others, such as 093, are interesting because of the extras added on, such as addendums, interviews, or in this case, exploration logs.
Ooh!
SCP-093 is a lengthy report, but I suggest reading it for yourself to get the full experience. If you're just interested in a summary, or an explanation, however, keep watching. SCP-093 is a stone disc, generally red, that can comfortably fit into most palms. Unknown engravings and symbols cover the disc, and the color of the disc will change when held by an individual, with the color believed to be based on the regrets held by the holder. The disc also has an anomalous...
Damn, son, it's one of those that reads your aura and shows it to everyone else. I don't know necessarily if aura is the right word, but damn, I'm just like... It's showing the regrets. You're one of those people going like, I don't have any regrets, and then you pick up the subject and it shows the color and you're like, fuck. Oh, it's like, I know your secrets. Exactly. It's like, you might not even be aware that you have a regret, and this coin's like, actually, a mood ring. Exactly. I regret picking it up. You add a regret to the pile of regrets.
Attraction to mirrors.
Oh.
And when not held or attached to a mirror, the disc will rapidly move towards the nearest mirror, building up immense speed and smashing through any obstacles to get to its destination.
Oh my god!
Despite this speed, upon collision with a mirror, neither the mirror or the disc will suffer any damage, and the disc will cling to the mirror.
That is terrifying, man. Like, thank God it doesn't shatter the mirrors, because then it would constantly just keep zooming and be like, zoom, 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 zoom. But like, it just gains speed non-stop until it reaches a mirror.
Most notably, however, is when an individual holding the disc places it on a mirror, upon which they will proceed to move into the mirror, traveling to an alternate location. Upon learning of this, the Foundation commenced with 5 separate tests, sending different individuals through the mirror with supplies, weapons, and a video camera connected by a length of cable back through the mirror. Since the disc is believed to change color based on an individual's regrets or guilt, the first test subject is an expendable D class, convicted of murder, and with a history of attempted suicide.
So he definitely has a regret. Smart, Foundation, smart. Also despicable to use people like that, but smart.
The D class fully cooperated with every step of the testing, and the disc changed into a hue of blue while held. After entering through a mirror, the subject passed into an empty lowland plain, but everything is tinged with a heavy blue color in the video feed, although the subject later states there is no odd coloring for him. Subject walks across the plain, devoid of landmarks, until he comes across a primitively dug hole. Subject is instructed to enter the hole, reluctantly doing so, climbing down with his hands 100 meters. As the D class reaches the bottom of the hole and continues to walk through a passage, he reaches a concrete enclosure and complains of a strong stench. Light fixtures dot the ceiling, and 7 doors line the enclosure. After trying a few doors and finding them stuck shut, One
The
of them
deadly
opens into an
sins?
empty room with a substance coating the walls, resembling brown, burnt plastic. Subject manages to open another door with a broken key, finding the ceiling covered in the same substance, as well as a cot, a pillow, and a crate. Inside the crate seems to be food boxes, with the word cereal written on them,
Huh.
although the video footage shows the writing as obscured squiggles.
So the video footage is altered compared to what the subject is seeing. So they're being fed a delusion when they go for the mirror then.
Subject notices some articles hanging on a wall, but the writing is illegible, and most of them crumble at the slightest touch due to age. There's also a book present, and when
An
the subject
old
approaches it, a
bunker,
high-pitched
yeah.
screeching noise erupts from somewhere for a few seconds. After the noise ceases, subject is told to leave the room, and sees some sort of figure peeping through the door at the end of the hall before it closes. Subject continues exploring, finding a few more crumbling articles and cereal boxes, before being told to leave by control staff. Subject readily complies, complaining that the stench is getting worse. But as he begins his ascent up the tunnel, the cable attached to him suddenly tightens and starts to pull the D-Class up. As the subject reaches the top, he notices nothing has changed, and begins to walk back towards the mirror. The cable begins pulling away at a 90-degree angle, and the subject turns around to see 37 figures standing behind him, each lacking identifiable features, as well as the blue tinge. Subject panics, the cable continues to be pulled in odd ways, and the subject begins shooting at an unseen target. Subject is finally brought back through the mirror with a foul-smelling fluid on his clothes. Looking back through the mirror,
That's
personnel
weird.
noted the presence of a massive humanoid creature, at least 50 times the size of a human but with no facial features, crawling along the ground.
Damn.
The second test, the green test,
Interesting that they couldn't see anything, but when someone else peered in there, they could see something. Fascinating.
commences with a
And
female
curious.
D-Class who stole a vehicle and caused the deaths of 2 children during the escape. Subject is cooperative, the disc turns green, and subject enters into a farmland landscape tinged green. The fields are barren, but the subject approaches a nearby farmhouse, circling it and finding 2 children's bicycles, a girl's and a boy's, as well as boys' clothes arranged descending a set of stairs. Subject screams at control, thinking this is some sort of sick joke based on her history.
I wonder, like, if the 37 figures are how many that guy murdered beforehand. Because now with this person's experiment being the regret of the 2 children.
But it seems that the disc might have some control over location based on the subject's past. Subject descends into the cellar, finding it largely abandoned and unremarkable, but begins to complain about a stench.
Again.
She finds a hatch on the ground, with the smell being the worst around it, and she descends the hatch to find a concrete enclosure similar to the blue test, but in much better condition. In the enclosure, she finds more cereal boxes, 3 skeletons, and an empty revolver. Subject continues searching, finding newspaper articles, a book, clothing, toys resembling those from the 1950s, and an Ethernet jack covered in a fluid so repulsive that she refuses to take a sample. Subject sees a figure at the top of the ladder as she begins to climb out, but it quickly disappears.
This
She
person
immediately
also
vomits
saw.
upon reaching the top of the ladder, and reports hearing a noise that Control does not.
So this person also heard a noise and also saw a figure.
After stepping out of the cellar, she sees 2 of the massive humanoids crawling in the distance, noting that their arms seem to shrink and grow at different times. 10 minutes later, the humanoids disappear out of sight, and subject is instructed to enter the farmhouse. Dust coats the kitchen, food is spoiled, and the entire decor seems to strongly resemble that of the 1950s, although the subject locates a laptop.
Interesting.
The laptop reveals the final shutdown moments of an operating system titled Faithful OS. Continued searching finds a
Huh.
children's bedroom, and when subject looks out a window, she sees a city in the distance, and the video footage shows roughly 300 figures standing around the house, although subject
Jesus.
reports seeing none of them. Subject is told to return to the mirror, which she does, but a loud groaning noise and vibration is present for both subject and control staff as subject comes back through the mirror. The Violet
Crazy.
test
What
involved
the
a young
heck? This person saw 300, so that means the 37 that the other one saw weren't necessarily the amount of people he murdered, but more like guilt level, maybe? The more guilty you feel about something, the more people you're gonna have? Hmm. It's interesting that all of them so far have a lot of different experiences, but yet they have quite a lot of common things as well. But the subjects didn't see the figures, but see the giants. Yeah.
male convicted of murdering a police officer during a drug bust, utilizing excessive violence. Subject was uncooperative with the tests, but entered through the mirror into an urban cityscape with a violet tinge. The city seems to be
Uncooperative,
largely
huh?
empty, but there are a few cars that look to be futuristic and streamlined. Most of the cars seem to emit a powerful stench, and
Mhm.
inspection reveals their interiors are filled with a large amount of a strange brown substance. Finally, the subject finds a car that seems to be newer than the others, and is empty, so he enters the vehicle. The dashboard of the car shows no steering wheel, ignition, or other controls, only a few blank screens, implying the car is possibly autonomous. Later review of the video footage shows a humanoid figure looking into the car from outside, but subject doesn't notice it, and Control decides to send in a professional team of armed escorts to assist in the exploration.
An armed
The team enters the
escort?
nearest building, titled XEA Research Partners Inc., and finds a typical corporate lobby, with a computer at the receptionist desk waiting for a login for Faithful OS. Much of the technology seen in the building seems to be advanced, and the team
Interesting that this one has the Faithful OS as well. We had the 1950s laptop, and now a futuristic setting with that.
takes an elevator to the 114th floor, noting that 13 and 113 are missing from the keypad. The
Okay.
team gets a view of the city from the top floor, seeing that it is silent and devoid of activity, but a number of buildings have a strange brown growth attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
A view of the expressway sees one of the large humanoid creatures crawling along it, but the team heads back in the elevator, where they find that the button for the 74th floor has already been activated. They agree to go to this floor, finding another reception area, with a sign-in sheet
they agree. More like they were kind of like made to go there, but yeah, that's one way to say they agree.
bearing the year 1953.
Oh, so we're
A
not in the
logged-in computer
future.
contains text files related to appointment information,
Oh.
and the team finds a notepad belonging to someone named Dr. Boriziski, Blessed Purificationist. The team continues to search the floor and finds a number.
But it's actually really interesting how many little details they sprinkled about it. So far we have the stench, the brown crap, the bunkers going down to places, figures, giants. Uh those are just a few similarities. And then it's interesting also that they can send an entire team through the portal that someone's regret opens up. And that they can go through it. That's kind of cool in itself. Different people seeing different things. Mm-mm. The Blessed Purification is ominous title. Yeah. And then the operating system, that we also have that with two of them in common. The other one probably in the bunker being a bit too gibberish. Or is the 1950 thing made by other people who researched it? Who knows? It might be that this object was created back then. And it simply has these entryways to a different dimension or a different time. Like the Faithful OS reminds me of an old internet tale of a guy who said he made the best OS of all time. They tried to develop in that dimension. Could be, yeah. It could be that they went in that dimension and then they tried to like create stuff and have more things happening there. Let's go, Grimstad. The Temple OS. Oh. Hey, just that name loses points for me.
Purificationist. The team continues to search the floor and finds a number of large containment capsules, some of them broken and leaking a brownish material, and others
Brown
intact
again.
and holding nude humans with breathing masks.
Eh?
Charts for these patients contain conditions, but rather than physical ailments, the charts list personality flaws or incidents that occurred with them, such as infidelity.
So guilt?
One chart discusses that the patient was submitted to a 3-day period in the Lord's Tears to cleanse her system, and another prescribes a week in the Lord's Tears to give peace of self. Suddenly, the D-class subject begins to panic and yell at the humanoid entities that are now surrounding him, visible on the video feed, but the escort team sees nothing.
Fascinating.
Entities continue to stare at the subject as one of the escort members grabs him, and the group returns to the ground floor.
Interesting that only the guilty person... Well, only the guilty violet-tinged person sees it. It doesn't necessarily say that the other people aren't guilty in a similar manner.
After leaving the building, one of the large creatures on the expressway notices the group, letting out a bellowing roar,
Holy
and
shit.
begins to rapidly move towards them. All but one of the team manage to make it back through the mirror, and when they attempt to head back into the mirror a short while later, they report a horrific smell. Upon going through, they find the uniform and possessions of the lost team member, but not the body. A review of the footage shows lost team member firing his weapon at the creature, which seems to be dripping a brown liquid, before being presumably eaten or absorbed by the creature.
Yikes. Poor guy, man.
It became clear after analyzing recovered newspaper articles that something terrible occurred in this parallel world, and the Foundation became interested on whether or not any precautionary measures needed to be taken to prevent similar circumstances in our world. Because of this, rather than sending a D-class for another test, a doctor volunteered to go through for the yellow test. The doctor was cleared of any psychological issues and had no history of criminal activity.
For the yellow test, so that means that whatever his guilt was, it was yellow?
After stepping through into a yellow-tinged office environment, the doctor decided to forego the pulley return system.
Why?
The office contains a number of computers, all running Faithful OS, and the doctor also finds many filing folders, some of them bearing a symbol of praying hands. Entering the elevator, the doctor notes he is on the 34th floor, and the elevator keypad lists the floors as -115 to 115, with no floors missing like the other buildings.
So he gets a choice of where to go.
He descends to floor -115. And during the lengthy descent, the camera glitches and reveals 14 other figures in the elevator with him.
Is that a glitch? Oh boy.
Another glitch shortly after reveals the doctor alone in the elevator, and he remarks on a rising stench from below. The doctor stops on the -110th floor, where he finds an observation deck from which he can access a few camera systems. He sees thousands of broken capsule containers,
Whoa.
as well as one of the huge creatures
Whoa. The Matrix, man.
on the ground floor, estimated to be 6 stories tall. A document on the PC directs the Doctor to a safe on the 54th floor, which he opens to find a notebook and a strange revolver. The Doctor returns to finish the test, but also notices the same text document on another computer, realizing that someone had spread a virus to put the document on every PC.
Ouch.
This finally leads us to the red test, as SCP-093.
So he was deliberately given a weird, strange revolver together with the document. And he never actually made it to the minus 115 floor. He stopped at minus 110 and then went up. Very interesting and weird at the same time that the Doctor, like, did a lot of different things compared to protocol.
Was passed around the Foundation until it changed to a different color, which ultimately was with a service technician. The disc takes on a bright red color, and he enters into an obscured environment with no tinge of color.
Oh.
The technician is in a room with a rotating cylinder in the middle, and the walls are lined with countless copies of objects identical to SCP-093. The rotating cylinder is filled with holes, and occasionally beams of light will emit from the cylinder and connect with the discs on the walls.
Okay.
Some spaces on the walls indicate that certain discs are missing, and the technician turns around to reveal that the disc behind him is also missing, presumably as it's the one the technician is holding.
Interesting that it's a
The
technician that
descends
has
a ladder
this.
into a clean room filled with antiquated computer equipment and a monitor displaying a flashing interval of the words clean and unclean in different colors.
And now we're getting a code-based message to send to the technician. Oh man. Hi, Spentmon. Welcome. Yeah, my soul is stuck in a puppet for the month of April.
The technician also sees a number of container tubes filled with a blue liquid and finds a number of documents on one of the computers.
Blue
A length
liquid?
of time later, Control loses contact with the subject as the mirror returns to normal for almost 2 minutes before re-establishing itself. The technician returns through the mirror and undergoes sudden convulsions during his debriefing, displaying enhanced strength and killing one of the debriefing staff.
Wow.
It takes a heavily armed team with automatic weapons to take him down, noting that the subject did not bleed when shot, but instead leaked a greenish-brownish substance.
What happened during those 2 minutes?
Lastly, this brings us to the file on the recovered documents from the various tests, which slowly bring together a number of clues. To summarize, this world is focused on the United Lands of the Sun, a highly religious yet also hypocritical country led by a number of High Fathers, principally the Most Holy Father. Living pure, sin-free lives is priority 1 for most people living in the land, and those that are deemed sinful are sent to facilities where they are contained in capsules with a mixture of substances.
Called the Lord's Tears,
His Holy Tears, or the Lord's Tears. Subjects were contained for various reasons, such as disobedience, wanton lust, or anything else the High Fathers deemed sinful.
So I was right that the 7 doors were kind of like a bit of a reference to the deadly sins in the first one. Cool. It's like, it's small, but it's a cool detail.
More concerning, however, is the presence of creatures known as the Unclean, the large half-creatures crawling across the countryside. The Unclean seem to have a strange relationship with space and time, and absorb anyone they come across. The Unclean spread across the land, consuming and wiping out cities, as the areas known as the Unfertile Zones continued to grow.
So it got out of
The
control.
biggest cities became desolate, until eventually the largest cities fell as well, leaving the country quiet and empty. It's the final document recovered from the red test, however, that tells the full story.
Mm-hmm.
The document, written by a Foundation agent from another universe, explains that 350 years ago, this world experienced the arrival of an eldritch, godlike creature, known to the people as He.
I like how simple the eldritch creature was. Like, what's that? He. He arrived.
This creature declared that this world was unclean, and that the only way to save it was to purge it of sinners.
Damn. So
He
that's
bestowed upon the
how
world a
the
number of
religion
vast technological
started.
advancements, and said in 10 years' time there would be a war to decide who is clean and who is not. The eldritch creature disappeared, and eventually, the war commenced, instigated by the Holy Union of Land, known in our world as the United States. The most notable invention created for the war was the Holy Tears substance, which was said to purge the sins from the unclean.
AK mutate them into those big monsters.
What it actually did, however, at least the purest concentration of the tears, is some sort of genetic restructuring, turning people into the massive creatures.
Hey, got it right.
These creatures were attracted to pure concentrations of the tears, and so they were drawn to certain areas, known as the unfertile lands, on purpose in order to contain them.
I see.
It would seem that these humanoids become servants of the eldritch creature, meant to absorb anything deemed unclean.
Yikes.
Those that are absorbed become the faceless humanoids visible only through cameras.
Oh.
These individuals become eternal spirits,
Man, that sucks.
never to truly
Poor
depart
guys.
from this desolate world, and they only wish to kill the eldritch creature to end their suffering.
I mean, kind of makes sense. Revenge ghosts. That is crazy.
Somehow, the creature uses the discs to travel between universes, spreading lies and conquering worlds. But the Foundation agent managed to trap it in this universe by destroying his disc and spreading the fragments through other worlds.
Oh.
So that's it. SCP-093 is one of a countless number of transportation devices that a godlike creature uses to travel between universes in order to conquer and destroy worlds.
That's cool.
The people in the world the Foundation
So it's
visited
just a
believed
tool.
his words, accepted his technology, and eventually wiped themselves out, with most of them living an eternal existence of regret. SCP-093 is a lengthy tale, but it's one of my personal favorites, as it continually builds on the mystery of this desolate world, and you're inclined to continue reading to see if the pieces all fall into place.
I mean, we haven't gone through all the colors yet. We only went through what? 5 colors? We haven't seen all sins yet. We also haven't seen what happens when someone that's completely pure touches it. Like, there are so many more questions. How many colors? Well, you'd assume that there's one for every sin, right? That was awesome until the end where they dropped the explanations. What do you have against the explanations? Oh.
Like many skips, 093 does contain a powerful entity from outside of space and time, but more importantly, it is about the tragic tale of a civilization and their regrets.
And I presume like it builds upon going into the world and seeing stuff. Oh, recover materials, let's see. I've seen the faces of the people done clean. They show up on the pictures cast by the machine in the room with me, watching me. I think they're everywhere on this world, only seen by machines now. They don't look sad or happy, just curious. They want to know why. Why them? Why did it happen? I don't know. I just don't know. One problem, no one's completely cured. What do you mean? They're infants. Are you gonna say that a baby is impure? Hmm. But yeah, this was an actually interesting one. it definitely, I can see the appeal of it and why people like it as an object. I feel like there's a lot of unexplained things, but then again, this was kind of the explanation short variant of it, and the creator did recommend that we go and read the full thing ourselves for like more information. Plus, it's continuously updated, right, by people, so it's definitely one of those that requires more digging through to find out more stuff. Mm. But yeah, if you're on YouTube and watching this, thank you again, and please comment below what SCP you think I should watch next. I will be picking the top one from the comments as usual.